Here we are. Let's go. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new around here, I'm Jetski Chuck. Man, we dive into all types of disturbing videos, creepy TikToks, and flat out mysterious theories from across the internet. Two things we need to do before we get started. One, hit that like button. Two, hit that subscribe button. Remember, don't believe everything you hear on this video. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. It's not factual. If something resonates with you, good. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. That's what I do. With that being said, let's dive in.
It is currently being reported that the man, the legend, the OG of predator hunting, Chris Hansen himself, is doing a documentary examining what is actually going on with this whole Roblox situation. I hadn't seen this from any actual credible news sources, and you guys know that I do not like misinformation. It also turns out that Chris Hansen is a good friend of mine. So I texted him personally, went straight to the source, and he confirmed this is absolutely 100% true. For those of you who don't know, there is a YouTuber named Schlepp who has worked with Alex Rawson and Gideon to expose predators, and he was catching predators that were using Roblox, a kid's game, to lure kids, groom them, and do unspeakable things to them. But instead of thanking him, Roblox banned his account, sent him a cease and desist, and threatened to sue him. Now, not only has the entire Roblox community rallied for Schlepp, but the entire internet has gotten behind him, and it's even spread to members of Congress. The state of Louisiana is actually suing Roblox for endangering our children now. But when Chris Hansen comes in and tells you, why don't you take a seat?
Damn, what an excellent idea. We all know these kids are infatuated with Roblox. It sounds like a guy is a hero on them getting those creeps out of the game. If you ask me, we need more people like that. Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Parents are a pair who rent. Because you don't own your child, you sign them away using a signature. You sign your nature. Your signature is a sig, which is a sigil, which is a symbol used in magic. An entrance is an entrance. To enter altered states of consciousness and higher dimensions, you have to put yourself in a trance. This is the entrance to higher dimensions. The Freemasons show an entrance to higher consciousness. Trance is when the mind is turned off, keeping your awareness in the state just between a wakefulness and a sleep. You can experience higher dimensions of consciousness. Listen rearranged is silent. The side of your head is called a temple. Your head is the temple of consciousness. The English language is filled with hidden spells. Parents are a pair who rent. Because you don't.
I agree. The English language is full of hidden spells. That's why I wish I knew like different languages, like I was fluent in Spanish, French, anything but English, y'all.
There's this thing called Operation Often, and it was hidden from the majority of government until 1975 to 77. The FBI director basically destroyed all evidence of MKUltra. So in December of 2024, they just released 1,200 documents, gave more light to this thing called Operation Often. Operation Often was a joint U.S. Army and CIA project launched in the late 1960s. They went full in on hiring Satanists, witches to study and see if they could weaponize the paranormal. This is not made up. These documents came out saying that they were doing this. There are even reports that this program had files on spiritual possessions, poltergeist activity, and demonic entities.
Bro,
This is the U.S. government saying, like, let's research this and see if we can weaponize it.
they're looking at spirituality as like a science to be like harnessed.
because they know it's real. People think black magic, witchcraft, all this stuff is baloney. But I'm like, if the government, they've been looking, now they're like, now we're going to conduct a study on it.
This was at the height of the Cold War paranoia. So they're like just trying to figure out anything to weaponize.
Yeah.
There's this thing called Operation Often.
I feel like they initiated Operation Often because maybe something happened to them and there's like, man, we got to do that as well.
Now, King Solomon was a straight-up genius. Rumor has it that he was actually so smart that even kings, governments, and literally the occult still use his knowledge to this very day. Of course, the question is, what did he even teach? Well, according to Solomon, the very beginning of wisdom itself is this thing called the fear of the Lord. This is never meant actually being scared of God, but rather having this deep respect and holy reverence for the creator of the universe. We've all heard pride comes before a great fall. But the real question is, why is this even true? This will only make sense with the very first key of wisdom. You absolutely must first fear the Lord. So sit down and be humble. Solomon also warns about receiving advice from a specific group of people. He calls them sinners, but there's a lot more to this. See, a sinner can be rich and powerful, even a solution to all your problems, but their minds are separated from God, blind to the reality of this world. And if the blind lead the blind, then they will both fall into a ditch. And so, wisdom, according to Solomon, is like a woman. She calls out your name, waiting for your response. Only if you ignore her, eventually, she will leave, mocking your downfall, laughing at what you've missed out on. Only a fool builds their house without a solid foundation. So in this way, the beginning of wisdom is Now, King Solomon.
That's so refreshing, like honeycombs to the ears. You know, I be doing these videos all day and people be spiritual this, spiritual that. But we need to elevate, declassify your pine. I get it, y'all, but when I just hear somebody talk like that, it's just like, he gets it. You can almost see the light off this brother, man. I love it. I remember we covered this a while back. I think it was like almost a year ago we were talking about this. You guys remember that episode? That episode was crazy.
One thing the old world knew is the power of sound and cymatics in our own bodies. To understand this universe, you must understand frequency and vibrations. Why do you think they worked so hard to remove all the bells from the old world? Here's an example of what frequency and vibrations can do to our bodies. Turn up the sound and listen with your headphones.
Buddha was a black man? The original Buddha, the first people who conceptualized and worshiped the divine image and they actually started the practice of Buddhism. Buddha is not a name, but a title, meaning enlightened one, blessed one, or to become awake.
The original Buddha was not a god. He was an ordinary person named Siddhartha Gautama, whose profound insight inspired the world.
In general, Buddha means awakened one, someone who has awakened from the sleep of ignorance and sees things as they really are. A Buddha is a person who is completely free from all faults and mental obstructions.
Our history has been hidden from us, and we must tell our story. We cannot rely on anyone else to tell our story but us. The truth is, I really don't want anyone else telling our story because they can't seem to get it right. And we should not be upset when others don't want to teach Black history. We must teach it for ourselves. It is our stories, and we need to take that responsibility and actually take that honor.
Buddha was a black man?
Yo, I love everybody, but you gotta admit, this does look like curly hair. I believe some people say those are snails. That's a reach. We're definitely not getting the whole story.
I think we forget that life was never meant to be understood. It was meant to be felt. We spend so much time trying to figure everything out, trying to fix, explain, solve, control. But life is not a puzzle, it's a wave. And you were never meant to carry the wave. You were meant to let it move through you. The joy, the fear, the heartbreak. The moments that didn't make sense until much later. You were never broken. You were becoming. I think the sadness comes when we try to hold on to what's meant to pass. We grip the moment, the person, the feeling, hoping to freeze it in time. But everything you've ever loved was borrowed. And the beauty of it was never in the holding. It was in the being. So, if you're hurting, don't rush to escape it. If you're lost, don't race to find direction. Feel it, all of it. Because this too is part of the dance. And if you listen closely enough, even your pain is trying to teach you how to be alive.
Damn, that was deep.
What happens when our pineal gland is activated? We become aware. We become conscious. And a symbol of consciousness in many cultures is the lotus flower. Another code or clue, perhaps? We're familiar with, we've seen the lotus flower as a representation of awakening and enlightenment. Well, here's cymatics. Here's a scientific study of holding in a fluid, or you can even do it with loose grains of sand or powder, apply frequency to it, and you will get standing waveforms, and then you can take a picture of it and see this incredible geometry behind it. Well, I went to a cymatics lab, and I played the 3 tones of the Sumerian King's List and the frequency tones of sacred geometry. We played both. Look what they revealed. That is a still shot of the patterning that came through when we played the 288, 360, 432. The researchers that have been doing research with cymatics for years had never seen something like this. It is like 3D. It looks like a lotus flower. You can see petals hiding behind other petals deeper you go. They're like, this is incredible. And no one has seen something like this in cymatics research before. What happens?
Dude, y'all have got to listen to this guy right here, man.
Say what? Today?
What?
We know your mama.
So that did not sound anything like him, okay? So I went to Google. I was like, yo, Google, whenever people get possessed, their voices sound different. It's a common idea in folklore and narratives about demonic possession. So yes, indeed, Ed is right.
That human beings are demons.
No, I do not. And don't you ever say I did. We wrestle not with flesh and blood.
You can see the demon. Look at how... Hold on, let's go back, y'all. Look at the pupils. It's like, man. I watch a lot of court TV with, you know, people that done some really bad stuff. And they got that same look in their eye, man.
We wrestle not with flesh and blood.
That look right there, man. Look at that look, dude. I don't think so, sucker.
Dwells in me, the pure, spotless blood of God. And as it was performed.
Is it just me, or can y'all just feel just the pure evil just radiating through him, dude? Like, I feel straight up just...
How terrifying. And you see why there ain't too many people there. You ain't about to set me up for this horror show.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? During the early 19th century, strange events were reported worldwide. Cities were being dug out from layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being revealed that were covered to their rooftops in mud. A global cataclysmic event buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. But here is where it gets rather unsettling. The Tartarian Empire, an empire often depicted in old maps, was an advanced civilization that existed across Europe and Asia. They built architectural marvels, had access to advanced technology, and were able to harness energy from the atmos. The mud flood, many say, was a deliberate attempt to wipe out Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, resembling ancient architecture, were supposedly built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893, the Paris Exposition in 1900, and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. These events showcased magnificent architecture, and on official papers they were apparently built with plaster and wood. Do these look like temporary structures to you? The sudden disappearance of these architectural marvels raises the question, were they remnants of the Tartarian Empire, conveniently disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their origins? They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us.
Waterfalls come from the stumps of the ancient petrified trees.
There's no water in the house. Hoping that this one has water. Let's see. Oh, there's water. Yay. There is water. So I wonder where's this water coming from, but at least we've got water. From a tree.
Did you see what that said? It said these stumps are clear indication that the stumps are still active. Look how massive that tree is. That's Devil's Tower right there. Look how tiny it is. Look how massive this tree is. This tree literally went past the clouds. Without a doubt, you had people living in these trees now. Back in the ancient times, I see it. Giants were climbing all in these trees. They probably had buildings, just like how you see all these Tartarian old-looking structures. They probably had them inside these trees. Something went down. A massive war went down, and they labored at every single tree, cutting them down. You know, there had to be a war. I'm sure people put up a fight to try to stop them from putting these trees down. But if you look carefully, look how clean every single tree stump is cut. You know, they use some type of futuristic technology, solar technology. They harnessed the sun and aimed it right at the tree stump, and I'm telling you guys, you know, you didn't have some giant just come over with an axe and, you know, John Beanstalk, what's that story? Jack and the Beanstalk, there it is. You didn't have someone just Jack and the Beanstalk come with the axe and chop it. These are smooth cuts on all these giant tree stumps. It was solar technology. They had some type of beam and they just was it gets crazy, y'all. I believe back in the ancient times, it looked straight out of science fiction movie. They had airships, they had civilizations living in these trees, and they had solar technology. That's how they were able to cut all these tree stumps so cleanly. I'm convinced now every single waterfall you see is an active tree stump. The roots of these giant tree stumps are pulling water from the great deep. Look at how flat this tree stump is. This was not some flood made this perfect. I'm not saying the flood didn't happen, but I'm saying the flood didn't cause these trees to get knocked over. This was a precision cut. This looks like a giant cantaloupe, doesn't it? In the middle is the core or the seed. Or it could be a giant peach for real. James and the giant peach. Here you go. Could this be one of the fruits that was dangling on those trees? A cantaloupe? Something. Giant fossilized fruit. How crazy is that? Well, it's not that crazy if you look at how big these trees were.
Ancient giant tree stumps. The trees got petrified a long time ago. They were the trees of life that connected to our minds. They would have reached into the heavens above. Just like you see in the film Avatar. Don't be fooled by thinking these are mountains.
This last one was absolutely massive. I mean, look, you could see the waterfalls shooting from the side, and look how flat it is. You know, these boys were labored at.
It took me 28 years to realize who's the real villain in The Wizard of Oz. We grew up believing the Wicked Witch of the West is the villain of the story, but is she? Think about it. Her sister gets murdered and her shoes are stolen by Glinda, shoes that are silver in the original story and belong to her mother. And what about Glinda, the good witch of the South? She literally used Dorothy to kill the witch of the East. Not to mention she avoided telling Dorothy she could have used the shoes to go back to Kansas.
You've always had the power to go back to Kansas. I have. Then why didn't you tell her before?
But rather, she left Dorothy going through the yellow brick road to meet the wizard, who actually left the kingdom right after. And by the end of the movie, by using Dorothy, she eliminated all her competition in the realm of power. So who's the real villain? It took me 28 years to realize who's the real villain in The Wizard of Oz.
Damn, what a plot twist. She had us all fooled.
There's cities underground, there's warehouses underground, there's actual homes underground. People build these tunnels and they've built them for decades. There's a lot of elite celebrities. They go down there for parties.
Maybe those Diddy parties everyone's yelling about. That's not really my thing.
Underneath the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, California. I was there for a cock party. We walked through the museum, through the garden area, and employees led us to underground tunnels. We had to take an elevator and stairs. We had to be led. There is no way that you can just walk into a tunnel. The entrances and the exits are in your face, but there's no way that you can just walk through tunnels. You'll get stuck. You'll go deeper and deeper, and you won't be able to come back out because it's hard, because the tunnels run all different directions for miles and miles and miles and miles. So if you go down the wrong one, you'll get stuck, and it's confusing to turn back around and get back to where you're going. So you have to be led in and out.
buildings, but when it's underground, we're definitely going to look at it.
Go from New York to Brazil, Buenos Aires, and then Antarctica without ever coming up to the surface for air. And you can do it all at way more than 1,000 miles an hour on magnetic levitation trains, otherwise called maglev. One thing he told me, he went from Virginia to Los Angeles in 45 minutes. Do the math, 3,000 miles an hour. Most people don't even believe that there's a tunnel network. There are hundreds of thousands of miles of tunnel systems.
Maglev, that sounds familiar. From Virginia to Los Angeles in 45 minutes underground? What exactly are they hiding from us? Indigenous tribe in Antarctica. Let's take a closer look.
Okay, get in here, America. Check out this new discovery of indigenous tribes up in the Antarctica. Oh, wait.
Have y'all heard of the Bashenga tribe? Pictures of the Bashenga people along with leaked CIA documents have been circulating the dark web. This is super weird. It's said that this tribe was taken from West Africa to Antarctica as part of an experiment to see if melanated people could survive in the cold. But it gets really dark because the population of the tribe was reportedly ended after an anthropologist accidentally brought smallpox to the community. What's really strange is that there are pictures of artifacts and very tall wooden structures. Where did they get the wood from? Were there trees in Antarctica? Over time, the Bashenga people were claimed to have adapted to the cold in strange and amazing ways. They were happy to swim in the freezing sea and wore very little clothing, thriving in conditions that should have been impossible for them to endure. Researchers were apparently baffled by this, unable to understand how these adaptations were possible and unable to understand the language. The reports also describe a strange event involving the Bashenga people drinking a strange brown liquid and hallucinating, but there are no further details.
Now, what's going on here, America? It seems like we keep on finding these indigenous melanated people all over the world, even in the North Pole, even in the Antarctica, all through Russia, all through Europe, all through Asia, all through America, all through Africa. I mean, it seems like we all over the world, and we've been there all over the world, and we've been there. But the big question is, America, why we wasn't taught this in school?
Thanks for watching. This video is for entertainment only, but if you know, you know.
Interesting. I wonder what that brown liquid was. Mysterious sarcophagus with UFO-like markings engraved on the back. That was kind of terrifying. It looked like a... Yeah, what is... Oh, no. Did somebody carve this out? Or is it a real artifact?
The Tartaria mud flood theory is a controversial hypothesis that suggests a catastrophic event took place in the 18th or 19th century, resulting in a massive flood of mud that covered entire cities and wiped out entire civilizations. According to this theory, the civilization of Tartary, which was once a powerful empire that covered a large part of the Eurasian continent, was destroyed by this event, and its existence was deliberately erased from history by the ruling elite. One of the main pieces of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the presence of mysterious buildings and structures in various parts of the world that seem to be older than the officially recognized timeline of human history. These structures, known as megaliths, are often made of large stone blocks that would have been impossible to move and erect using the technology available at the time they were supposedly built. Another piece of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the strange architectural features found in many old buildings in Europe and elsewhere. These features, such as strange windows and doorways, seem to have no practical purpose and are unlike anything found in modern architecture. Proponents of the theory argue that these features are remnants of an older civilization that was destroyed by the mud flood. There are also claims that the Tartaria mud flood theory is supported by geological evidence. Some researchers have pointed to the presence of sedimentary layers in certain regions of the world that seem to indicate a massive flood event took place at some point in the past. Other researchers have claimed that the soil samples from various parts of the world contain high levels of unusual substances, such as iridium, that are typically associated with meteor impacts or other catastrophic events. Proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory.
This has been concealed for centuries. The real purpose of the Eiffel Tower is something far beyond what you've been told. Most people believe it's nothing more than a symbol of Parisian culture or a product of the industrial era. The truth? The Eiffel Tower was designed as a massive antenna, an instrument for wireless electricity experiments, and its secrets could have revolutionized the world. The year was 1889, and the tower was unveiled at the Paris World's Fair, touted as a temporary exhibit. But here's where it gets strange. The true intent behind this engineering marvel was hidden in plain sight. Nikola Tesla visited Paris in the 1880s. During his stay, he met with Gustave Eiffel and shared his groundbreaking vision for a world powered by free, wireless energy. Tesla had already proven with his Wardenclyffe Tower that electricity could be transmitted wirelessly across vast distances. Eiffel, utterly fascinated by Kessler's revolutionary ideas, took these principles and incorporated them into the design of the Eiffel Tower. This was not just about aesthetics. This was about power, real power. During the tower's construction, strange phenomena were reported. Electromagnetic anomalies, unexplained lights, and strange sparks were seen surrounding the tower. Locals spoke of nighttime experiments, and some even claimed to have witnessed orbs of light dancing around the structure. Why hasn't this been exposed?
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. He really didn't get that deep. There's a lot more to it, like what's under the Eiffel Tower and how it was a mooring station for airships.
You know, the only difference in steam and ice is the state of vibration of the water or the H2O. Do you know the only difference in where you are versus where you want to go is your state of vibration? Do you know that everything to get you there is already here? And it always has been. You know, when you take an idea and you impregnate it over and over again, you impregnate that idea into one cell. When you impregnate that idea into the cell, that cell is dividing 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. And the process goes on at the rate of 50,000 cells per second. And the more and more you act on it, even though you don't feel good about it, but you work with the idea, you start to develop this change in vibration. But what is really happening is you're impregnating the cells with the characteristic or the idea. What we need to do is we need to constantly think about where we're going, what we want to do, and we start to increase our level of thinking by vibration, and we begin to attract thoughts of a like nature that'll move us in that direction. You know the only difference.
I don't know why, but I'm hyped now. He hit me with that Philip 4-8.
Freemasons use this symbol, which is the same symbol for Apple Store, and X when it's mirrored. This symbol is a compass on top and a square below. The square creates a square which has beginning and an end. The compass creates a circle which has no beginning and no end. If the compass is the circle, which means spirit, and square is the square, which is matter, this symbolizes spirit over matter, the compass over the square. Leonardo da Vinci was showing you that you are a spiritual being in a material body. You are an individual. You have a physical body and a non-physical body. The voice in your head and the emotions you feel are eternal, but your physical body will die. The spiritual brain is the mind. The spiritual heart is the soul. The brain and heart are physical manifestations of the mind and soul. The aim is to climb the pyramid to higher consciousness, to your true spirit self, so that you can be spirit over matter and not matter over spirit. They show you these symbols in plain sight. These people are highly enlightened individuals. You will never have power if you don't have knowledge. Knowledge is the true currency of this life.
Hosea 4:6.
Hold up. Watch this video with me. Why is nobody talking about this? Holy smokes.
When you watch cell division happen under a microscope with special dyes, you see there's spindle fibers that shoot out like Spider-Man. I mean, they shoot out from these little bitty centrosomes. They shoot out and they attach to the chromosomes. And your chromosomes are like socks. They come in pairs, so there's like a matching pair, and there's all these different matching pairs. And so they line up in the center of your cell, and you can see these spindle fibers grouping. It looks like there's two white glowing hands just grouping up, like shuffling a deck of cards or matching up socks or whatever you want to look at it like. And then when everything's matched up, it just goes, pulls it apart. And it's like, how? How does it pull it apart? What force is it using? What eyeballs do these little things have that let them see the chromosomes? How, like, it's not like this centrosome goes, all right, go that way, head left, head right. They shoot out and they guide with accurate precision, boom, and to where your skin cell, when it goes apart.
Hold up. Watch this.
Call me crazy, but this is what it looked like. You knit me together in my mother's womb? Literally.
Pairs. And so they line up in the center of your cell, and you can see these spindle fibers grouping. It looks like there's two white glowing hands just grouping up, like shuffling a deck of cards or matching up socks or whatever you want to look at it like. And then when everything's matched up, it just goes, pulls it apart. And it's like, how? How does it pull it apart? What force is it using? What eyeballs do these little things have that let them see the chromosomes? How, like...
Call me crazy, but it looks like it's some type of designer behind this. Bloodwood tree leaks blood-like liquid to seal wounds. Is this really nature or something else? We have another UFO sighting. Time and place is unknown. This was starting to give me the vibes of when the 3 different UFOs started to circle that plane, and then they hit that portal and they disappeared, like they was generating something while it was circling that plane. It's a crazy clip. Here, I gotta play it. All right, when I was referring to those UFOs spinning around that plane trying to form some type of portal, this is it.
Like it's trying to create a stable portal. Okay, now they've isolated it. Wow, this is incredible footage. Yeah. They're probably trying to create something called an X point. Boom. Are naturally forming portals around Earth. They can't control them. They can't control when they appear, when they disappear. They can't control how to keep them stable and open. And they've been researching these things. And some of these portals lead towards the moon, the sun, even to other planets within the solar system.
Well, let me be the first one to tell you they're definitely not going to other planets. But this is one of 2 things. The things flying around this is man-made. Like Area 51, the government, they have the technology to do this now. Or 2 is something beyond that ice wall, if you ask me. For entertainment purposes, of course. Don't believe anything you hear or see on this video. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because we do these videos every single day. So make sure you hit that notification bell, click all so you don't miss an episode. Now let's get straight back into the action.
Oh, you
Oh, where'd it go? There you go, he's good. You're good. Oh my god!
Oh, you
Now you got a spider on the loose and you have to dance around. That's not a spider, that's a tarantula. They got a tarantula you got to dance around. We don't know where the spider, it just disappeared. Like that airplane we showed earlier. Portal gone. It's under the kitchen table now. Oh man, that looks like a huntsman though. That sucks. It ran straight under the table. Did you see it? I bet if we slowed it down, you can see that little thing scurry right under the table. They're gonna be sitting down at the table eating a mac and cheese. Next thing they know, ah! No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't wish that on nobody.
Is the world map, and this is wrong. What if I told you that from here to here, it's 6,400 kilometers, but from here to here, which only looks like half the size, is 7,200. The continent of Africa has been shown smaller than it actually is. What if I told you that Greenland was only this size? Or Russia was this size? The US and Canada were much more. You know what? This is the real map. Look at Sweden, Finland, and Norway. They're much smaller now. Or Greenland is tiny.
Some theorize about a moon map. And I believe if we compare that moon map to what we just witnessed him drawing, maybe there might be more similarities of how big the continents already are, if you guys are familiar with the moon map.
So I came across this video earlier and I thought for sure it was AI, but it turns out it's actually not. Check this out.
We haven't got a clue really, have we, about our old civilizations? It's just all bamboozlement about they were primitive. I mean, look at this, it's unbelievable. Carved out chisels and hammers. It's like something out of Stargate. Some kind of sci-fi. Unbelievable. And as the water levels drop, not rise, we're going to be seeing a lot more videos like this.
So upon looking at these, I couldn't help but think they resembled something that I had found on Google Earth a few years back. Check this out. The carvings on the stones in this riverbed are 100% verifiable and absolutely real. They're located in Sahasralinga, Karnataka, in India. They can be found in the Shalmala River near Sirsi in the Uttara Kannada district. What they are is over 1,000 Shiva Lingas, and they are carved directly into the rocks of the riverbed and its banks, believed to have been commissioned in the 17th century by King Sadashivaraya of the Sirsi kingdom. Many carvings include Ling Yoni combinations, and some have Nandi bulls facing the lingas. During the dry seasons, or when the water recedes, the carvings become fully visible. Pilgrims visit especially on Mahashivaratri. Now I don't know about you, but to me, those look like some sort of spacecraft. Now I'm not 100% sure if that's what they're interpreted as, but that's what they resemble to me. Something off of like Star Trek or Star Wars or something like that. They look almost identical to craft in Star Wars. And of course, modern archaeology will tell you it was done by hammer and chisel, which maybe we don't have anything to necessarily combat that, but I'd like to think that maybe they were more advanced than what we believe. Absolutely amazing. You can see they have intricate carvings, very detailed. They definitely took a pretty significant amount of skill to complete. What do you guys think? Is there any significance to these? Are they just carvings or ritualistic? Or could they represent actual spacecraft? I'm curious to see what you guys say in the comments.
At first look, it does look like it's something straight out of a science fiction movie, some type of alien craft, but it could be a temple that fell from somewhere. I would be curious if there's any waterfalls. Where's the water source coming from? Because if we follow the current to the actual water source, there could be a waterfall nearby. And you know, a waterfall could be a petrified tree stump. And at the petrified tree stump, they could have labored at it and knocked down the temple that was possibly inside the petrified tree stump. Just a theory. What could that possibly be? It definitely would have to be in the roots for it to soak all that up and take it into the trees. It must be something under it. How strange.
Adalbert, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America.
I know, Bird, you've been to both the...
Keyword, Middle America. Man, they got continents for days out there with all types of technology.
2025 isn't just another year. It's mathematically magical. It's 45 squared, a perfect square. The last one was in 1936. The next isn't until 2116. For most of us, this is the only perfect square you will ever live through. 2025 is also the sum of the first 45 odd numbers. It's the square of the sum of the first 9, and it's also the sum of the cubes of the first 9. Perfectly aligned, perfectly balanced, like the universe saying, now is the time. In numerology, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9, and 9 means completion. The end of a cycle, a portal for rebirth. So what if 2025 is a signal? A rare chance to rewrite the patterns that have shaped your life? This isn't a year to repeat old loops. It's a year to reprogram your mind and finally become the person your soul came here to be. Not through hustle, but through alignment, through repetition, through subconscious transformation. 2025 isn't just another year.
It's not just another year. It's 2 plus 2 equals 4 plus 5 is 9. You're also on what? Dark Waters 9. What are these numbers trying to say to me? You haven't heard about the dolphin assisted? Never mind. Check this out. Oh yeah, this is a deep rabbit hole. Oh no, it's a cover up. They're trying to cover it up. It makes sense. They use the sonar frequency. Dolphins being humanoids? A genetic experiment? Now that's a little bit too far. I don't know about that, but then again, how crazy really is it? Because if you think about it, if a flood were to happen, a dolphin could survive if it was a genetic experiment. Interesting. The dolphins really don't have any real predators, do they? Like, they just live free out in the ocean. Like, as much fish as they want. I feel like sharks aren't a threat. Like, it's safe when dolphins are around, right? So sharks aren't a threat to dolphins. They're incredibly intelligent. Them being a genetic experiment is crazy. Makes you think, huh? Would this be something they would try to hide from you? If you thought I didn't have an excellent specimen for you today, think again. Look at this purple fluorite with the purple octahedron dances in front of you. And look how it has sprinkled with some gold dust. The lavender octahedron. It's truly a spectacle. If I had to name this piece, I would call it Lavender Lemonade.
This is huge. This is a massive story. Record this, download this. This is a potentially dangerous story for me to share, but you need to see this because we need answers. I am happy, healthy, and not prone to accidents, just saying. For context, I do a radar and satellite review show on my website every single day. So when I tell you this is freaking weird, I know what frickin' weird is. As I was reviewing radar data, I spotted an anomaly in Florida. It appears that a wave was emanating from each tower, which was subsequently pushing the cloud cover and precipitation outward. That alone shouldn't happen. The mainstream narrative is that these towers only track systems, but here we have clouds and rain being moved moved in a perfect circular outward fashion at the exact same speeds near each tower. And look at this area, when the clouds collide in the middle between two separate waves from two separate towers. Then as I looked along the Gulf coastline, this is where things got even more crazy. All the towers along the coastline are doing the exact same thing at the exact same times. Texas, Louisiana. I mean, look at Louisiana. The wave is emanating outward to the point where the clouds and precipitation spreads out equally in all directions and is then eliminated. In fact, even more strange is at every area of precipitation near the towers along the Gulf and Atlantic coastline disappears simultaneously. And that's not even the craziest frickin' part. The craziest frickin' part is the time code for when these waves occurred, about 1940 UTC. These areas felt seismic activity. The local news reported it as 3.1 magnitude.
Well, at about 2:41 this afternoon, out about 10 miles deep in the Gulf, 70 miles south of Gulf Shores.
A rare event in this area. You heard me right. The moment we saw these waves around these towers, they reported that there wasn't. The thing though, impact the atmosphere. It can't move clouds. It certainly wouldn't move clouds in perfect circular waves emitting outward from each and every tower along the entire Gulf coastline up to the Carolinas on the Atlantic coast. And I'm still trying to figure out, is this emanating from the towers themselves? Or is there something working with them in the ocean? So I looked a little further to see what I could find in the cloud cover in the Gulf around the time of the supposed earthquake. And I found this. What is moving these clouds out there like that?
Wonder if those are like some type of harp tower that those frequencies are emitting from that she was showing. Very interesting stuff. Good work, by the way, for catching that. Bertha Benz and Benz Patent motor wagon from 1886. Like from Mercedes-Benz? I feel like they should still make those. What is it being powered by? Steam? I would love to take a stroll on one of those. You know, with your feet up. Put a little kickstand. Yeah, I would love to take a stroll in one of those. How about you? We have an actual specimen from the 1878 World Fair. Unbelievable.
A pair of monumental vases by Minton have proven that they were in the World's Fair. This was the World's Fair that was attended by almost 30% of the population of the United States at the time, which was very, very impressive. Minton was already very famous for their Majolica. This was a chance for them to basically stake their claim as the best of the best. And they would put their biggest and best up in front so people would stop.
This was before TV. This was before radio. Their number one advertising was for have somebody, for the press that would go there and the critics to go there and go, my God, they have the best. And so people put their, by far, the biggest and best effort into World's Fair's pieces.
Where would you even put this? Like, would you put it in the kitchen, the living room? Man, that is gorgeous. Look at the butterfly. You already know I love flowers. That was fun. What a great idea. Wow, bull on the loose.
New pin.
Just a unit. Whoa. Oh yeah. New pin.
This would be the world's most dangerous game of limbo. What?
We're down here about 3 hours from our house and trying to go into some underground tunnels under this city. Oh wow. This is it. Whoa, it looks like we got a gate here, but we can get through. Whoa, there's a ladder that goes up. Oh, okay, we gotta get up there. Oh, oh, that's too creepy. Somebody kept their child in here, it looks like.
Desperate times.
Hold up. That's the scariest thing I've ever seen. We gotta first figure out what this place even is for. Is it a prison? A bunch of old electronics, a bunch.
Ooh. It looks clean, like someone's waxing that floor. This is underground?
This place is like a hospital.
This is a medallion that was found on my great-grandfather's farm, probably before the 1900s. The man who worked for my great-grandfather was plowing the field, and he saw something that was shining in the field, and so he picked it up, and as you can see there, the plow hit the coin or the medallion. My great-grandfather gave him 3 hogs for the coin. And so years later, when my great-grandfather and his wife wanted to retire into Blair, Nebraska, he decided that maybe it'd be a good idea to check this out, have a lawyer look into it in Omaha. The Omaha World Herald got a hold of that, and they wrote an article about that in 1934, and it was then passed down to my grandfather, and then to my father, and then to me.
Well, I can tell you it is an authentic 1809 James Madison Indian Peace Medal, and it's made of solid silver.
Oh, great.
These were minted at the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and designed by a German immigrant named John Reich, who was the assistant engraver of the U.S. Mint. He also designed a lot of very famous coins throughout the earlier part of the 19th century. These were minted by the U.S. Mint and given out to representatives of the U.S. government to give to Indian chiefs throughout the Missouri and Mississippi River valleys and upper Midwest.
Okay.
Now, they were minted in 3 sizes, a 2-inch, a 2.5-inch, and a 3-inch.
Oh.
And they were given out in importance order, the 3-inch to the most important Indian chiefs, the 2.5-inch, which you have here, to slightly lesser chiefs, and then the 2-inch to maybe even lesser important chiefs than that.
Great.
What you have here on the front is the bust of President Madison, and it says James Madison, President of the United States, and it's dated AD 1809. Here on the backside of the medal, we have peace and friendship, and it shows a U.S. Army cavalry cuffed hand shaking a bare-wristed hand, so presumably that of an American Indian.
Right.
And above that is the crossed tomahawk and peace pipe. And you'll also see that it does have a suspension loop, and that is very common, as they were not issued that way, but Indians wanted to wear them, so they were often pierced for suspension.
Okay.
These were perceived as very important by American Indians and often traded amongst themselves and sought after even within their communities.
Oh, okay.
So the question, is it real? The answer is yes.
I'm so excited.
The question, what's the value? If this were to come up at auction, I would expect it to sell for between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow. Wow. For 3 hogs, that's a lot of money.
That is a very cool story, but for $20,000, somebody can come pick that up quick. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, drop Super Sunday Banger as the code word. If you made it this far, drop Super Sunday Banger. Y'all really rock with me, and I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love you guys. This was disturbing videos, creepy TikToks, mysterious theories that might just keep you up all night and change your reality. I'm Jet Ski Chuck. Till next time.